Admiral Alan Carter stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the huge alien ship that had appeared at the edge of our solar system. The ship looked like nothing humans had seen before in their 100 years of space travel. It shined with a strange metal unknown to Earth scientists and was nearly 5 kilometers long. "Ambassador approaching, sir," said Lieutenant Olivia Grant from her communications station. Carter nodded and fixed his uniform. Humans had met 17 alien species since leaving Earth, all fairly peaceful, or at least smart enough to see that working together was better than fighting. He hoped this new race, calling themselves the Valkyrie Imperium, would be the 18th. The hologram machine turned on, and a tall, thin being appeared. It had pale blue skin with silver markings, and its many eyes blinked in a way that made Carter uneasy. "Greetings, humans," the alien said, its translator changing complex sounds into English. "I am High Envoy Sakveth of the glorious Valkyrie Imperium, rulers of 7,000 worlds. Your species has been observed and deemed worthy of joining us. Prepare for assimilation into our magnificent empire." Carter looked at his first officer, Commander Jack Wells. "High Envoy," Carter said carefully, "humanity appreciates your interest, but we are a free species with our own territories. We're open to diplomatic talks and trade deals." The alien's face changed to something like amusement. "Perhaps I wasn't clear. This is not an invitation. The Imperium has chosen Earth for integration. Resistance would be unfortunate." Carter felt cold fear run down his spine. "With respect, High Envoy, I strongly advise against hostile action. Humanity doesn't want conflict, but we will defend ourselves if needed." Sakveth's many eyes all blinked at once. "Defend? Against the Imperium? Your species has never known true war, Admiral. We have conquered galaxies while your ancestors were discovering fire." Carter kept his face calm, but his voice grew deeper. "You've clearly misunderstood something basic about us, High Envoy. Humanity was born in war. We've spent most of our history fighting ourselves. The peace we've achieved is precious exactly because we know the alternative very well." The Admiral stepped closer to the projection. "We don't want war with the Valkyrie Imperium. But if you force this, I can only offer one piece of advice. Run." High Envoy Sakveth cut the communication. On the bridge of the Valkyrie ship, he turned to his war council. "These humans are either very brave or very foolish," he said. "Begin scanning their defenses and prepare invasion plans." His second-in-command looked worried. "High Envoy, the humans' warning seemed unusual. Most species beg for mercy when faced with our might, which is why they will be easy to conquer," Sakveth replied. "Any species that doesn't understand its place in the universe needs to be taught." Back on the UES Defiant, Carter was already sending encrypted messages to Earth Command. "Activate Protocol Omega," he told the Defense Council. "The Valkyrie won't listen to reason. We need to show them why humanity has survived everything the universe has thrown at us." As both sides prepared for what was to come, neither fully understood what they were about to unleash. The Valkyrie didn't know the terrible efficiency of human warfare, and humans didn't yet grasp the vast resources of an empire spanning thousands of worlds. The first interstellar war involving humanity was about to begin. Grand Admiral Zarvek of the Valkyrie Imperium looked at the data streams with growing anger. The human ships had pulled back from the border after the first fight, moving deeper into their territory. This was normal behavior for a species facing the Imperium's power. "Pitiful," he said. "They fire a few shots and run away." His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Lechthal, came with a data tablet. "The Emperor wants an update on the assimilation. Tell our glorious Emperor that the humans will be defeated within a standard cycle. Their technology is simple, their tactics easy to predict. They've never faced an empire like ours." A communication officer interrupted. "Grand Admiral, we're getting a message from the human leadership." Zarvek waved his hand dismissively. "Terms of surrender already. Show it." The hologram turned on, showing a serious-looking human woman in a neat uniform with modest badges. I am Admiral Susan Rivera of the United Earth Defense Force. I'm allowed to speak one final time before fighting goes beyond diplomatic solution." Zarvek made a gesture of Valkyrie amusement. "Go ahead with your surrender terms." The human's face stayed serious. "This is not a surrender. This is a warning. The Valkyrie Imperium has mistaken our self-control for weakness, our desire for peace as fear. You think you understand war because you've conquered those who couldn't fight back. You know nothing of human warfare." She leaned forward. "We've spent thousands of years making the art of killing each other perfect. Our history is written in blood, our own blood. What we've done to ourselves, we can certainly do to you. Leave now, and we can still have peaceful relations." Zarvek laughed, the sound like grinding metal. "Your species has existed for just a moment in cosmic time. The Imperium has ruled for thousands of years. We've destroyed civilizations older than your oldest nations." Admiral Rivera nodded sadly. "Then you leave us no choice. Remember, we warned you." The message ended. "Prepare the invasion fleet," Zarvek ordered. "We'll start with their colony on Mars." Lechthal bowed and left, leaving the Grand Admiral to think about the strange intensity in the human's eyes, an expression he couldn't quite identify, but which left an unsettling feeling in his secondary nervous system. On Earth, Admiral Rivera turned away from the communication terminal. The Defense Council watched her with solemn faces. "They didn't listen," said General Nathan Boyd, head of ground forces. "As expected," Rivera replied. "The trap is set." Dr. William Foster, Chief of Advanced Weapons, nodded. "Mars defense is ready. Operation Honeypot is active. The Valkyrie will find exactly what we want them to find." Rivera walked to the large window overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Humanity has never fought an interstellar war before, but war itself, that's the one thing we know better than anyone in the galaxy. "Do you think they'll understand their mistake before it's too late?" asked Diana Lee, the civilian representative. "No," Rivera said, watching the sunset paint the ocean red. "The Valkyrie believe conquest is their right. They see our technology and think they understand our capabilities. But they don't understand what thousands of years of human conflict has taught us." She turned back to the council. "Send the order. All forces go to full war status, and may whatever gods the Valkyrie believe in have mercy on them. Because we won't." As the orders went out, humanity prepared for a war unlike any they had fought before, but with the same ruthless efficiency they had developed over millennia of fighting themselves. The Valkyrie attack on Mars began as expected, overwhelming force against limited defenses. Orbital bombardment broke the main colony dome, and dropships sent ground forces to destroy any resistance. Commander Heather Wilson watched from her bunker as alien troops marched through the ruins of Armstrong City. The colonists had been moved out weeks earlier when intelligence suggested the Valkyrie were targeting Mars first. Now, only Wilson's Special Forces team remained. "All units in position," her sergeant, Kyle Rodriguez, confirmed. Wilson nodded. "Operation Honeypot is active. Send the signal." From hidden places across the Martian surface, special transmitters turned on, sending a carefully tuned quantum signal that human scientists had found would affect Valkyrie shield technology. On the Valkyrie flagship, alarms sounded as secondary systems began failing in chain reactions. "What's happening?" Grand Admiral Zarvek demanded. "Unknown energy surge from the surface," a technician reported. "Our shields are responding to it, creating a feedback loop in our power systems." Before Zarvek could respond, 16 human stealth ships appeared within the Valkyrie formation. They had been hiding in plain sight, their advanced technology making them invisible to Imperium sensors. The human ships launched their weapons, not normal warheads, but complex electronic warfare packages that burrowed into the compromised Valkyrie systems. Commander Wilson watched her tactical display as the alien fleet's formation fell into chaos. Ships fired on each other, unable to tell friend from foe as their targeting systems were corrupted. Detonation in 3, 2, 1. Rodriguez counted down. Across the Martian surface, hidden fusion charges exploded, not to damage the planet, but to create a massive electromagnetic pulse specifically tuned to the frequencies of Valkyrie neural implants. On the surface, alien soldiers collapsed as their cybernetic enhancements failed catastrophically. In orbit, 13 Valkyrie capital ships crashed into each other while trying emergency maneuvers with broken navigation systems. Wilson opened a channel to Earth Command. Phase 1 complete. Casualties: 0 human. Estimated 7,000 Valkyrie. Moving to Phase 2. Grand Admiral Zarevek stared in disbelief at the destruction of nearly a third of his fleet. These humans had turned his own technology against him without firing a single conventional weapon. "Retreat," he ordered. "Regroup at Proxima Centauri." As his damaged flagship limped away, Zarevek finally recognized the expression he'd seen in Admiral Rivera's eyes. It wasn't fear or desperation. It was pity. Back on Earth, the Defense Council received Wilson's report with grim satisfaction. "The honeypot worked perfectly," General Boyd observed. "They never suspected Mars was a trap." Admiral Rivera nodded. "Phase 2 is already underway. Our infiltration teams have planted quantum entanglement nodes throughout their communication network. We now have access to every transmission within the Valkyrie command structure." "Will they retreat completely?" asked Diana Lee. "No," Rivera said firmly. "The Emperor won't allow it. His pride won't let him admit that humans could defeat the mighty Imperium. He'll commit more forces, probably most of their fleet." "That's what we're counting on," Dr. Foster added. "The more they commit, the more effective our counter-strike will be." Admiral Rivera looked at the tactical display showing the retreating Valkyrie ships. "They've spent millennia conquering species that surrendered after the first show of force. They have no concept of what it means to fight an enemy who has turned warfare into a science." "And if they don't back down after the next demonstration?" asked Boyd. Rivera's face hardened. "Then they'll learn why every species should fear the day humans decide that peace is no longer an option." The Imperial Palace on Valkyria Prime hummed with tension as Emperor Xalquan received Grand Admiral Zarevek's report of the Mars disaster. "Unacceptable," the Emperor hissed, his ceremonial armor clicking with each angry movement. "You lost a third of the invasion fleet to primitives." Zarevek bowed low. "The humans used tactics we've never seen before, Your Magnificence. They let us believe we had the advantage, then sprung a multi-layered trap." "Excuses." The Emperor activated a star map hologram. "I am sending the sacred fleet from the homeworld. We will crush these humans and make an example of them." 2 weeks later, the largest fleet ever assembled by the Valkyrie Imperium appeared at the edge of the Sol system. 5,000 ships, including the dreaded planet killer Divine Cleaver, formed an unbreakable wall of firepower. Emperor Xalquan himself commanded from the flagship Eternal Dominion. "Broadcast on all frequencies," the Emperor ordered. "Let them see their doom approaching." On Earth, the United Defense Council gathered in their mountain fortress beneath the Rocky Mountains. Admiral Rivera studied the incoming Valkyrie fleet with grim determination. "They've committed over 70% of their total naval strength," observed General Frank Miller, the weathered head of Earth's ground forces. "The Emperor must be personally commanding." "Exactly as predicted," Rivera replied. "Status of Operation Longbow." A young analyst, Lieutenant Paul Harrison, stepped forward. "All satellites are in position, Admiral. The quantum entanglement network is active and undetectable to Valkyrie sensors." Rivera nodded. "And Project Achilles?" Dr. Diane Cooper, head of Xenobiology, answered, "The targeted pathogen is ready. It will only affect Valkyrie biology, specifically targeting their unique breathing system. As requested, it's non-lethal but highly incapacitating." "Begin Operation Longbow," Rivera ordered. Across the solar system, thousands of seemingly inactive satellites suddenly oriented toward the incoming Valkyrie fleet. Using quantum entanglement principles that allowed them to ignore conventional physics, they began transmitting directly into the Valkyrie ship's computer cores. The alien vessels didn't detect the intrusion until their propulsion systems simultaneously shut down, leaving the mighty armada drifting helplessly in space. Phase 2, Rivera commanded. The UES Defiant led a small fleet of 30 Earth vessels toward the paralyzed Valkyrie armada. Instead of weapons, they deployed specialized drones that attached to the hulls of the alien ships and began broadcasting the engineered pathogen through their life support systems. Within hours, 90% of the Valkyrie forces were incapacitated by uncontrollable coughing fits and breathing distress. Painful, but not fatal. Admiral Rivera opened a direct channel to the Emperor's flagship. Emperor Xalcun, your forces are disabled but alive. We could have killed them all. Remember that. This pathogen will disappear in approximately 1 week, allowing your troops to recover. You have that time to consider whether the conquest of Earth is worth the extinction of your species. The transmission ended, leaving the mighty Emperor of 7,000 worlds gasping for breath along with his troops, watching helplessly as the small human fleet turned and departed. On the Eternal Dominion, between painful coughs, Emperor Xalcun turned to his advisors. How? He wheezed. How did they do this? High Scholar Neverith, keeper of Valkyrie knowledge, struggled to speak. The humans, they fight differently. They don't seek to destroy when they can disable. They showed mercy. The Emperor realized with shock. In all the Imperium's history, mercy was a concept rarely considered. As his flagship drifted powerless through space, Emperor Xalcun began to understand that the Valkyrie Imperium had made a terrible mistake in provoking humanity, a species that had perfected warfare to an art form unknown in the galaxy. Emperor Xalcun, recovered from the breathing attack, but not from the shame, called his Imperial Council to the sacred chambers deep within Valkyria Prime. The 12 oldest and wisest members of the Imperium gathered around the ancient table of conquest, where for thousands of years the Empire had planned its expansion. How? The Emperor demanded, his voice still raspy. How did a species with barely a century of spaceflight defeat our sacred fleet without destroying a single ship? High Scholar Neverith, keeper of the Imperial Archives, stepped forward nervously. Your Magnificence, I have been studying the humans since our first meeting. I believe we completely misunderstood their nature. The Emperor motioned for him to continue. The humans seem to have evolved differently from any species we've met. While most intelligent races developed intelligence as their main survival trait, humans developed something more complex. Neverith activated a hologram showing human history. They evolved on a death world, a planet with extreme environmental changes, numerous top predators, and constant natural disasters. But their greatest threat was always themselves. The display showed human wars throughout history. They had fought over resources, territory, beliefs, even minor cultural differences. They've created weapons specifically designed to kill their own kind in the most efficient way possible. Yet somehow, they didn't wipe themselves out. The Emperor watched with growing unease as images of human conflicts throughout history flashed by. Ancient battles with primitive weapons, mechanized warfare, nuclear standoffs, and finally, their expansion into space. What makes them truly dangerous, Neverith continued, is not their capacity for violence, but their restraint. They know exactly how far they can go without destroying everything. They understand the precise application of force needed to achieve objectives without needless destruction. Grand General Vexcor, the Emperor's most trusted military advisor, interrupted, "Are you suggesting we cannot defeat them?" "I'm suggesting," Neverith replied carefully, "that defeating them would require methods that would destroy what we seek to conquer, and that defeating them might fundamentally change us into something we do not wish to become." The Emperor stood, silencing the whispers around the table. "Show me their homeworld again." The hologram shifted to Earth, blue, green, and swirling white clouds. Such a small thing to cause so much trouble, he mused. Could we not simply destroy it from a distance? Neverth's expression grew serious. Intelligence reports indicate they've thoroughly infiltrated our communication networks. They would know of such plans before we implemented them. And there is this. The display changed to show a detailed schematic of what appeared to be a Valkyrie world. This was sent directly to our military command yesterday. It's a perfect targeting solution for our homeworld's defensive grid weakness. They've shown they could destroy Valkyria Prime at any time. Yet they haven't. The council chamber fell silent as everyone realized what this meant. They're offering us a choice, the Emperor finally said. War or peace. Grand General Vexcor slammed his fist on the table. We cannot allow this insult to stand. The Imperium has never retreated. And perhaps, the Emperor said quietly, that is why we have never encountered a species like humans before. We assumed all races would either submit or be destroyed. These humans offer a third path. He turned to his communications officer. Send a message to Earth. The Valkyrie Imperium is willing to discuss terms of coexistence. As the council members exchanged shocked glances, Emperor Xalkun gazed at the image of Earth floating in the hologram. These humans, he said thoughtfully, have much to teach us about the true nature of power. Sometimes the strongest action is not to strike, but to show mercy when you have the power to destroy. The diplomatic vessel Harmony drifted in neutral space between Earth and Valkyrie territory. By mutual agreement, both sides had sent minimal escorts, 3 ships each, and the diplomatic teams were limited to 5 representatives per species. Admiral Susan Rivera led the human delegation, accompanied by General Frank Miller, Dr. Diane Cooper, Earth's foremost diplomat Grace Chen, and Anthony Wright, a historian specializing in first contact scenarios. The Valkyrie delegation was led by High Envoy Sakveth, who had first contacted humans, along with military and scientific advisors. Emperor Xalkun observed remotely but would not personally participate. As the 2 delegations settled into the conference room, Sakveth broke the tense silence. In 10,000 cycles of Imperium history, no species has ever forced us to a negotiating table. You have impressed us. Admiral Rivera nodded. We take no pleasure in the demonstration we were forced to provide. Humanity genuinely seeks peaceful relations with all species. Yet you prepared so thoroughly for war, the Valkyrie Admiral Kesnar observed. Your countermeasures were specifically designed for our technology. We prepare for all possibilities, General Miller replied. It's the same reason I carry a sidearm while sincerely hoping never to use it. Dr. Cooper added, the breathing agent was deliberately non-lethal. Our scientists worked to ensure it would cause no permanent damage. The Valkyrie scientist, Tevmok, tilted her head curiously. You could have engineered something far more devastating. Our biological structure is vulnerable to numerous compounds that would have no effect on humans. That would have been genocide, Grace Chen stated firmly. Humanity has learned through bitter experience the cost of unlimited warfare. We don't seek the destruction of the Valkyrie people, only the freedom to determine our own destiny. Sakveth studied the humans carefully. Our cultural understanding is incomplete. In the Imperium, mercy is rarely considered. Victory is absolute or not at all. Historian Wright leaned forward. That approach works against species that lack our particular history. Humans have fought ourselves so viciously and for so long that we've developed not just the means to destroy, but sophisticated frameworks for ending conflicts. We understand that today's enemy might be tomorrow's ally. An interesting philosophy, Sakveth admitted. The Emperor has authorized me to negotiate terms for mutual non-aggression and possibly limited cultural exchange. Admiral Rivera smiled for the first time. That's an excellent start. We propose a 50-year period of gradual engagement, beginning with scientific cooperation in neutral space, followed by cultural exchanges, and eventually, perhaps, free travel between our territories. The negotiations continued for 3 days, with both sides carefully establishing boundaries, protocols for communication, and mechanisms for resolving future disputes. On the final day, as the agreement was being prepared for formal signature, Sackveth asked a question that had clearly been troubling him. Admiral Rivera, with your technological capabilities, you could have demanded far more concessions. Why practice such restraint? Rivera considered the question carefully. Because lasting peace is never built on humiliation or subjugation. The humans you encountered are the product of thousands of years of learning this lesson the hard way. We hope the Valkyrie Imperium can benefit from our mistakes rather than repeat them. The high envoy bowed slightly. A gesture he had learned was significant to humans. Perhaps there is wisdom in this approach that the Imperium has yet to discover. As both delegations prepared to sign the historic treaty, a new chapter in galactic relations was beginning, one where understanding might eventually replace conquest as the path to advancement. 5 years after the historic treaty between humanity and the Valkyrie Imperium, Admiral Susan Rivera stood on the observation deck of the newly built Harmony Station. The massive space platform orbited at the exact midpoint between Earth and Valkyrie territories, serving as neutral ground for ongoing diplomatic, scientific, and cultural exchanges. Beside her stood Sackveth, now promoted to Imperial Overseer of Human Relations, a position created specifically to manage the complex relationship between the two powers. The cultural exchange program has exceeded expectations, Sackveth noted, watching a group of human and Valkyrie scientists working together in one of the transparent research pods extending from the station's central hub. Over 500 Valkyrie have now visited Earth, and nearly 300 humans have toured our core worlds. Rivera nodded. President Samantha Lewis is particularly pleased with the technological cooperation. The joint terraforming project on Proxima Centauri shows promising results. The Emperor remains cautious, Sackveth admitted, but even he acknowledges the benefits of our arrangement. The medical technologies your people shared have already reduced deaths among our young by 17%. They watched as a shuttle docked, bringing the first group of Valkyrie civilians, artists, teachers, and ordinary citizens who would experience human culture firsthand. I've studied your history extensively these past years, Sackveth said quietly. The violence you've inflicted upon yourselves is difficult to comprehend, yet somehow it produced a species capable of showing mercy to those who threaten them. Rivera smiled sadly. We learned through tragedy what true strength is. It's not the ability to destroy. It's the wisdom to know when not to. A young Valkyrie approached them, bowing respectfully. Imperial Overseer, Admiral Rivera, I've been asked to inform you that the joint fleet exercise has been completed successfully. The exercise had been a carefully orchestrated demonstration of both species' military capabilities, conducted with transparent communication and mutual observation. No secrets, no hidden capabilities, a display of trust that would have been unthinkable 5 years earlier. Thank you, Tevlin, Sackveth replied. After the young aide departed, Rivera turned to her Valkyrie counterpart. There's something I've wondered since our first encounter, but diplomatic protocol prevented me from asking. You may speak freely, Admiral. When your people first arrived, why did you assume we would simply submit? Did no species ever resist the Imperium? Sackveth's multiple eyes blinked in their unsettling pattern. Many tried. All failed. But we had never encountered a species that evolved as yours did. Most achieved space travel after thousands of years of social cohesion. They had forgotten how to fight wars of survival. And we never stopped fighting them, Rivera concluded. Precisely. The Imperium underestimated you because we couldn't imagine a species that achieved interstellar travel while still carrying the instincts and knowledge of prehistoric predators. A group of human children passed by with their teacher, part of an educational program about interspecies cooperation. They waved enthusiastically at Rivera and stared wide-eyed at Sackveth, who awkwardly attempted to mimic the human gesture of waving. The Emperor asked me a question yesterday that I found most illuminating, Sackveth said. He asked, if the humans could have destroyed us but chose not to, what does that tell us about them? I believe I finally have the answer. And what is that? Rivera asked. That humans understand something the Imperium is only beginning to learn. True power lies not in conquest, but in connection. Not in domination, but in cooperation. Rivera gazed out at the stars visible through the station's massive viewing port. It took us thousands of years and countless wars to learn that lesson. I'm glad the Valkyrie could learn it without paying the same price.